Danny here with a wonderful Wednesday, and I wanted to share with you today one of my favorite products, which is the All Purpose Mat. So it's actually this brown mat here behind, but it comes in this pretty box all rolled up. You can keep it in this box if you like. You don't have to. I don't. I tend to just roll them up and stick them back into my space that I store it in. The main reason most people think of these all-purpose mats is that they use them for heating. So it is a heat mat, all right? That is one of the main reasons to use this. It is a heat mat, which is what I'm going to show you first. So I'm actually going to do some Versamark, some heat embossing with this. This is my well-loved Versamark ink pad. Still works just as good as the day I got it. And I'm just going to stamp my Versamark on there. Sprinkle my powder over my scrap here. Whoops, that was a bit excited of me. Tap that off. Before I spill that everywhere else, I'm just going to put that back in the thing and put the lid on it, because I will totally... I've been making Christmas cards. Do you like my pretty pattern I've got going on here? So with this as a heat mat, one thing I do recommend just to help protect your fingers is using your tweezers, particularly for smaller pieces. This isn't as bad. Now I'm sorry, this is going to get loud for a couple of seconds. So this is protecting all of the surface underneath. Voila! I got a bit close to my paper because I was in a hurry. But you get the idea. It's protected everything underneath. Now I've actually got under this just because I was stamping one of our beautiful guide mats there. The name has completely evaded me right this second, but because I wanted the cushiony background for stamping and things. So that's one reason to use it, for a heat mat, to protect all your heat surfaces. Now the other reasons that you could be using this is because you are going to be using messy type mediums, okay? So whether it be ink, Distress Oxide, spray gloss, anything like that, they are wonderful mediums that love to make mess, but you can also do some very, very cool techniques on these mats, which is what I want to show you. So one of the first techniques that I ever got shown using this mat is just to dab your ink pad, any ink pad. I've just chosen Wildberry Colour of the Year, onto your mat, and to give it a spritz with a bit of water, and then, whoops, I forgot my piece of plastic, but this beautiful plastic pocket that was sitting on the other side will do. Scrunch up any sort of cellophane-y type bag, and you're just sort of smushing it around, and then you can take that to create sort of wonderful distress sort of patterns onto any sort of paper. You could also, put that down so I don't cover myself in ink. You could also be, you know, spreading it out and then pushing your paper into it, all right? So there's lots of different things. The reason we love this mat so much is that because of the shiny surface on it, it wipes off beautifully, nice and easy. Ta-da! If I used paper towel, I picked up the baby wipes, silly me. Hang on, let's get the paper towel out. And for those that have watched videos with Janice, one of my friends, and her use of paper towel, I had to get mine off the holder, sorry guys. She literally keeps hers rolled off as mine unrolls. And then when she's mopping things up, she just rubs it around like that, and it's perfect. And it'll dry out and you can keep reusing that piece for a little while. Alright, so that has cleaned my mat. Now I've left a little bit here that I actually think is from something else from another day. But look, it all just scratches off. I love it. It just comes clean. So I'm just going to dry that. Now, the other reason I like it is for when I'm doing some work with Distress Oxides. Now I'm going to use this tiny little scrap that I just happen to have found. Now, tip for you all, use a post-it note with the sticky side to your fingers, and you can then use it to hold your paper. So bring my Distress Oxide in. Whoop. And I'm going to start on the mat and then start going onto my paper to blend and you would just keep going until you got the desired color, obviously. And then you've got options. You could just be wiping that off, obviously, but again, because it is that water reactive medium, add a little bit of water to it. And again, same thing, you could use that paper, you could pick it up with a paintbrush because now you've added water to it and it looks lovely. All right, so suddenly I'm painting with it. I could be pressing my paper into it again for different looks. All right, there's so many things you can do with that. Get rid of that piece. And my paper towel over here. All right. The other thing that I love to use on it is, I've lost it. All right. It's a good spot for my shimmer brushes. So those of you who haven't perhaps used our shimmer brushes a lot, they are a glitter pen. All right. This one has a carrier medium. This is the beautiful purple color with the glitter inside. But when you need to squeeze it out to get more ink into your brush, if you squeeze too hard, and this one's making a liar of me and it's not squeezing at all. Oh my gosh. Normally you would squeeze this. My kids have been at this, so I reckon it's nearly empty. Normally you would squeeze these, there we go, and the ink will plop out bigger than that. So this is nearly empty. But it allows me to use it then as a paint palette. So you could do similar with watercolor paints, watered down acrylic paints on it, anything like that. And so it lets me get those deep color vibrancies in here because it's so juicy from dipping it back into there like a paint palette. So that's another reason to use the mat. Clean that off again. Look at this, it's getting pretty. Put the lid back on that. The other reason I like to use it, look, I'm running out of little scraps of paper, but that one will do, is I actually use this underneath when I'm doing spray gloss. And I've dropped a spray gloss somewhere. Oh, there it is. Hang on. Got one that's nearly empty and I'm wondering if it'll spray for me today for this purpose. Oh, there it goes. All right. Now, there's a couple of things you can do here. Make sure you always wipe your spray glosses at the end to keep the nozzle clean. But once I'd finished spraying with these, shift that out of my way, I've got this pool of stuff. And just like everything else I've said, it's a great place to dab your paper, to use that colour. You could obviously come in and grab it with a brush or one of our water pens. All right, you can add more colour into it again, so it's still that paint palette so that you can then come back and do some different effects with it. That will work as well. And it still cleans up. The other thing I like about it is if I don't clean up straight away, or this spray that's up the top here dries quickly, it will just peel off. So go through and try and dry that off, and you'll see I've got some little dots, or you mightn't see, but there are some little dots up here. And I can just come through, and what am I going to use? Look, the side of this, just for want of anything else will do. Just something firm and stiff. And a credit card or an old debit card, anything like that will do it as well. And you can see it's picked up all that paint that dried on my mat. And my mat is as good as new again. So my other hints and tips for this, oh look, and it's all flaked off really nicely. Put that in the bin. I actually have a couple of these mats and I've cut some of them up into smaller pieces. So with this mat, one side is slightly tacky. So this is designed to grip on your bench. Oops, as I wobble the camera, that's how much it was gripping. Grip on your bench, whatever you're working on. And the other side is the wipe clean side. So I have little pieces like this cut. So I have a piece like this that lives in with my Distress Oxides. I have some that goes to workshops with me when I'm not at home, just so that I've always got some in my bag, because I never know what I'm going to suddenly go, oh, I want to create this, and oh, I wish I had that to use as a paint palette or whatever. For my art journalers in my group, I've also been using this as a paint palette with my art journaling classes and things like that, and all those acrylic paints and things just come straight off, so it works wonderfully. So it is the all-purpose mat. If you haven't got one, I highly recommend it. If you've got any questions, let me know. Catch you later.